What makes a great pair of glasses? At Warby Parker, it's all the invisible extras without the extra cost. Their designer quality frames start at $95, including prescription lenses, plus scratch-resistant, smudge-resistant, and anti-reflective coatings, and UV protection, and free adjustments for life. To find your next pair of glasses, sunglasses, or contact lenses, or to find the Warby Parker store nearest you, head over to warbyparker.com. That's warbyparker.com.
We will not be held responsible for any hearing impairments or damage caused to you from excessive exposure to this sound.
Bring her. So it's April 17th already. Did you know that?
April?
August. What? What happened?
Where did that come from?
Who won?
Are you excited? Are you excited for Easter or what? What is this? Seriously.
I have no idea.
Like fast forward to December, like Christmas.
Who won the election?
Halloween. You don't know?
Like, what's that movie with Brendan Fraser where he was frozen, Encino Man? I just woke up from August. And I'm hairy like him, so it kind of works out well.
No, you're like a sponge. I remember when we were swimming and you jumped in the pool and all the water, like literally just got soaked into your hair. That was great.
Yeah. And the pool was essentially empty afterwards?
Right. Yeah, I could just skateboard in it. It was great.
Because that's when I think of an empty pool, I think of you skateboarding.
Why would you think of an empty pool? That just doesn't make any sense.
Why wouldn't I think of an empty pool?
I don't know. Hey, did Oakland win tonight?
I think they did.
They were up 6-4 going in the ninth.
I think they pulled it out. I know the Sox dropped to the Yankees, but don't even get me going.
Why would I get you going? I wouldn't mention baseball to get you going about a game that. What?
Well, because last week, I forget what I broke, but I broke something halfway through you ripping me for baseball. So, just can we stick to what we do, which is nothing at all?
Well, here's the thing. If we talk about baseball, we can actually use our press passes to get into an event. I'm just throwing it out there.
That's a good call. Yeah, so it's not going good for my boys back east. I'm a little upset.
Are you guys even in the hunt?
No, not really.
Let's talk about this. What? You seriously need a drink right now?
Yeah, I do. Well,
it's water. It's
I've
water.
been saying I was going to bring vodka in here for a while now, so I figured I'd start.
I had an early day. I've been up very, very early today.
Are you punchy?
No.
Okay, good.
I'm a little punchy.
Hey, so can we get the bathroom moved closer, you think? I'm sick of
How much closer can you get than a Gatorade bottle that you just filled up? Seriously.
Folks, come on.
I don't know how much closer you can get.
Sprinting down the hallway back. And it's, 20, 40 feet?
I wish I had a webcam right now so that everybody could call BS.
Oh, I am not like...
What was that? Was that the red kind?
Yes, it was red Gatorade. If you're listening, the show phone number is 347-205-9399. Coming up on the show tonight, Clint has been researching this for, a year and a half now?
Researching what? Was I supposed to research something?
Oh, did you forget?
Yeah, I usually
All right,
do.
folks, we'll see you next week.
Perfect. See you.
Tell everyone what you've been researching.
No.
Yeah.
We're just going to segue into it. And I don't mean the little, velocipede thing.
No, I want to throw a teaser out there.
No.
All right.
The teaser is, it'll be awesome.
So last week...
No. Okay. Here's the teaser. We are going to... No, I'm not going to do it. Go ahead. I changed my mind.
I love it when you do this. This makes for great radio at home. Everyone's like, really? They're just going to sit here and argue whether or not they're even going to use a teaser?
No, that is the teaser. What are you talking about? Nanny, nanny, boo-boo. There's a teaser.
At the beginning of last week, we broke big news in the presidential election, did we not?
We had 3 hits off Google. It was awesome. It was a huge night for us.
We actually showed up on Google because we broke it a little bit early. Paul Ryan was named as the VP choice for Mitt Romney as his running mate.
Yeah, ahead of the convention. Good job.
Yeah, and we've been going back and forth on that. Rooster also wrote a piece on Ryan this week. If anyone hasn't checked that out, it's actually really good. He got Bulldog to
conservativeoutcry.net.
He got Bulldog to come out of hiding, which I think was his whole point of writing the piece, because it wasn't necessarily pro-Ryan. But Bulldog came out of hiding and actually made a few comments. So I think that was the whole ploy. I don't think.
Are we going to talk to Bulldog?
I'd
like to meet him.
At some point, we're going to get Rooster and Bulldog on the air at the same time.
Okay.
And but check it out. It was really good. I still think the whole plot was designed so Bulldog would come out of hiding, but.
What are you talking about? So let me get this straight. What you're saying is Mitt Romney contacted Rooster. Hang on. I want to make sure I got this. It was Colonel Mustard in the library.
Rooster contacted Mitt Romney.
And said, hey, listen, I got to get Bulldog out of hiding. Mm-hmm. So you need to pick somebody as a VP, and I suggest Paul Ryan.
Yes.
And Mitt said, awesome.
Yeah,
I got it. I'm going with it. And so he picks him and announces it ahead of the convention to get Rooster to be able to write a piece to pull Bulldog out of hiding ahead of the convention so conservative outcry can go ahead and just nail the convention.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was on board with that.
And Rooster's actually in the chat room. And
where are the black helicopters?
Rooster's in the chat room right now, and he said we caught him. So I knew I was going to do it.
Yeah, no, this is a great piece of investigation, young man. So it's awesome.
So as a result, and we're going to talk a little bit about Paul Ryan, but I have the latest.
You work for the FBI? Because that seriously was just an awesome piece of investigation.
Those
guys
one
can
and
just
B
put
together and
together.
got an apple. Yeah, that's pretty much how I roll.
Wow, you found it with both hands, huh?
So I have the latest Rasmussen reports, and I'm going to polls rather that came out today about the race, and we'll talk a little bit about Mr. Ryan. And for those who don't know, he is if you don't know, why are you even listening to this show? I mean, really.
Maybe they're listening to this. Listen, don't put people down. Maybe they're listening to the show to learn.
So he's the 7-term representative out of Wisconsin, so he could be argued.
No, he's the Republican vice presidential presumptive nominee.
Prior to that.
Oh.
So it actually could be argued that he's not necessarily a Washington outsider. He could be considered a Washington insider. And I'm going to go against a couple cons.
He drove a hot dog truck.
He drove the Wienermobile.
That's not a Washington insider position right there.
Didn't work ever. I'm just telling you.
That's like the pizza delivery guy.
And
you don't mess with the pizza delivery guy. You don't mess with the hot dog guy. You don't mess with the beer guy.
And you don't mess with the McDonald's guy either, because he worked there prior to being the hot dog guy. Thanks, Rooster. What? I'm not getting inside information. So he's anti-abortion. He's pretty.
Wait, did you list that as a positive or a negative?
This is just under some of his platform stuff. And I'm looking I have more on it somewhere, so this is really sad.
Really?
Dude, I know. I don't know what happened to it all, but...
Okay, the guy's a complete fiscal conservative.
He's a very fiscal conservative.
He wrote, what, he's the only one who's proposed a budget?
Yeah.
Or...
Well, he's the chairman of the House Budget Committee. He's a senior member of the Ways and Means Committee, which they run the tax policy that cover health care and Social Security trade.
And they weigh stuff.
He's the guy that wrote the Path to Prosperity.
The what?
Path to Prosperity was a plan to...
Is that a book?
Create jobs, stops over government spending, lifts the burden of...
I thought Obama wrote something like that.
He's married with 3 kids.
And Obama didn't write anything like that? He's the president. Shouldn't he be?
No, he read something like that.
Dude, you are just so locked into reading your notes right now.
I found him.
I just have to mess with you.
I think he read something like that by Tibbin.
Ghostbuster Librarian.
Yes.
Lady.
See? One thing you're going to make sure. Hi.
Get her.
Get her, Ray. Once a week I got to get her in, and I did it. See how I worked that in?
You know, speaking of old 80s movies, I have to have a moment here for a second where I digress. I watched an awesome one.
Which one?
It's Beverly Hills Cop.
Dude, that's
the first one.
That's a classic.
Great movie.
Eddie Murphy at its finest, Judge Reinhold at his finest. I mean, that was such a great movie.
It was a great movie. I loved it. Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, good. So one of the things that has been discussed recently is whether or not the Libertarians would get behind a Romney-Ryan ticket. And that's going to be a tough one.
Well, here's the go. Here's one of the things we actually talked about off mic last week. And by mic, I mean microphone. It at first I was under the impression that it would not be a good move for Mitt Romney to announce a vice presidential running mate prior to the convention, because what the heck would be the point of watching the convention? But then I thought, okay, you know what? By him announcing Paul Ryan, I think libertarians, or enough libertarians, could get behind Paul Ryan, or could get behind Mitt Romney with Paul Ryan as a running mate, to where they will not vote for Ron Paul as a vice presidential pick in the convention, because that is something that could happen. Ron Paul has enough delegates, I believe, to force a roll call vote on the floor of the convention, and if that happens, there would be a roll call vote, which would take a long time on the floor for everybody to be polled and voted. And what if Ron Paul was actually chosen as the vice presidential running mate?
Well, then the libertarians would finally get behind the Romney.
Right, but what I'm saying is, even though Romney has chosen his running mate, it could be very interesting.
They could really choose him. I don't.
And I think that by him choosing Paul Ryan, I think that takes some of that away, because Paul Ryan is very conservative. I think it brings the conservative base back to Romney, which he needed, because I think he was pulling decent among independents, but conservatives have had a hard time getting behind him.
Well, yeah, and Paul Ryan is a big Tea Party guy. They love him.
He is, and I think that look, I'm happy with the pick. I think that him choosing Paul Ryan, and Paul Ryan being a Tea Party guy, or the Tea Party likes him, I believe. I think that could prevent or mitigate the Ron Paul delegates being an issue at the convention. So in retrospect, maybe it's smart.
I don't know if it was smart. I think tomorrow we'll decide today, depending on where you're listening from, we'll decide whether or not it was a good decision. Like I said, he is a good fiscal conservative. He may be a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Not outlandish, but he may see things through rose-colored glasses a little bit more as far as what he can accomplish. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying the opposition is sometimes cruel. So
I don't even know what you just said. I don't know what that means.
I just think that he's a little bit, sorry folks, I'm having all sorts of technical difficulties tonight. I just think that he is a little bit, I can't find the word, where he's optimistic. I guess that's the best way.
How is that a bad thing?
I know. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I just don't know.
Are you thinking he's a little too conservative?
I don't know if he's, no, not too conservative. I just don't know if he's realistic enough to understand that the opposition's just, no matter how much we may wish, may not let him get away with certain things, and not get away, but be able to pass, a balanced budget that, cuts spending.
Right, because that'd be horrible.
Right, it would be. I'm kidding, it wouldn't be.
No, that'd be horrible. Why would we want a balanced budget? I mean, we don't run our homes that way. Why would we run a country that way?
I agree with you. We do need to balance the budget. We do need to have something realistic. We have to stop handing out money hand over fist. But the opposition doesn't like to do that.
You know what? Well, I like him being one heartbeat away from the presidency.
Yeah, and this is and I'm waiting for it in the chat room, because Rooster's going to go crazy here. I believe he called one of the things that he referenced Paul Ryan as a boobless Sarah Palin. Which I kind of thought was funny. You don't, and I knew you wouldn't. Which is why I said it and immediately looked over towards you.
Right, yeah.
But, the polls, and it's still, I don't always trust polls. Rasmussen's pretty good, but right now they have Obama 46 over Romney 45, so that's always close.
That's totally outside of the air.
No,
right?
Not at all. 3% people said they'd vote for another, 6% are undivided. So you're looking, based off this poll, you're looking to get that 6%. How do they do it? You know what I mean? I don't know how this is broken down, but I think a lot of people right now are worried about the economy. Ryan's a big economy guy.
He is.
And he could definitely make some changes there.
Look, I think that the way you do it is by reminding people the failures of the Obama administration. And I think that the Republican Party needs, look, I think this is going to encompass a few different prongs on the attack. I think the Republicans need to focus on the economy. No, it's not time for that.
I love that music.
I know you do. I think they need to focus on the economy. I think they need to focus on Obama's failures in the economic realm. I think they need to show and illustrate Obama's radical way of governing, and I'm talking about just the power grab that he has made, the fact that he has so many czars who are unaccountable to anybody. I mean, even congressional oversight. He's created huge government spending. He's created huge deficit in his budget and so forth. I think you need to point all of those things out. So you need to paint him as the radical he is. I mean, he's acted without congressional consent or oversight on several things. He's being sued for it right now. His DOJ is, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Congress is suing him, which is great. So well, I think you need to hit him on all those fronts. The other thing I think the Republican Party needs to do is remind people of the true roots of the party, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later also. So I think there's some work to be done. I think the Republican Party is remiss in how they attack certain things. I think they need to focus on. Look, I'm not saying blame Obama and say he's killing people like the Democratic super PAC was doing against Romney. I think that's ridiculous.
Right.
But you can point to enough facts to show that Obama is just attempting to garner so much power that this government really is bordering, if not has already crossed the line into true tyranny, especially when a lot of these provisions take effect. And I think you need to hit on all those fronts. And those you can do those with fact-based ads without any kind of embellishments or any kind of Obama killed my grandmother, because that doesn't help anything, and that's
and we've discussed
crap
before.
also.
There is absolutely plenty of facts, like you just pointed out, to go after him for during this election without exaggerating and embellishing. One of the things too is I really wish conservatives as a whole would kind of get behind the same thoughts and the same processes, because you read. I read a lot of blogs, I read Twitter and all that stuff, and there's so many different angles, and I think, right, wrong, or indifferent, the Democrats have the same 10 or 12 talking points that their people push out all day long every single day. The thing that scares me right now going into November is just reading what I read online and seeing it. I really think that we're still kind of divided on the right side here. I think that there's so many people pulling in so many different directions. I think everyone sees the common goal where they're like, hey, we got to get Obama out in November, but I don't know if they're all going about it the same way. And the reason I say that is I think when you get independents who aren't sure which way to go, they look at and they read blogs just like I do, a lot of people, and they listen to shows like this and Twitter and whatnot. They don't listen to Twitter, they read it. But I think when they see that and they see the people on the right going crazy and coming from 35, 40 different angles, and some of them are 100% true, and some of them are just way out of left field. And even things that may not necessarily be out of left field, but they're kind of dead topics that they're still pushing. The prime example I always say on that is the whole birth certificate thing. I just think at this point, if he did fake his birth certificate and he's been president for almost 4 years, do you think you're going to be able to dig anything up now? If you couldn't dig anything up before he became president, I mean, if that's the case, I think it's a dead issue. That issue's a non-starter for me. It really is. That's a non-starter for me. I don't show me evidence. If you have good evidence, and it would stand up. And don't show me in a court of law. Don't show me somebody's opinion. I don't want to hear conspiracy theories. But I think if we can get beyond stuff like that, get everyone on the same page of, hey, these are the facts these are the things that he's done. For example, the National Defense Resources Preparedness. Yeah. The executive order that he signed, which basically, I mean, it's a
flagrant violation of the Constitution, and basically says that in case of war or national emergency, he has the authority to take over almost every aspect of our society.
Yeah.
Livestock, farming, food, industry, defense, hospitals, water resources. I mean, are you kidding me?
No, and he's not the first president to sign it, but I think he did expand it a little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Really?
In the chat room, Rooster says, we're not at true tyranny yet. When you read about me running around the Appalachians yelling Wolverines, then we're in true tyranny. So, so this is the first time that Obama's been up in the poll in about 10, 12 days. However, Romney is up 2% in Florida, which is a battleground state.
It is?
Right now. Up 1% in Wisconsin, which is also up for grabs right now.
Mm-hmm.
People are saying that when it comes to taxes and the economy, they trust the Republicans over Democrats 45-40.
No.
Yeah, when it comes to health care, believe it or not, they also trust the Republicans over Democrats 44-41. Thank you, Rasmussen.
So why are people voting for him?
I don't know. I can't figure that out yet. I'll tell you, I can figure it out yet because people don't want to see their free stuff go away.
Right.
And I'm not talking about just welfare. I'm talking about all these green
food stamps,
health care, food stamps, all that.
And they're just voting the D.
The other thing, they're walking through without reading, without researching, and just pulling the handle or pushing the button or shooting the duck off the stick. I don't know how we vote anymore in some states. It's pretty ridiculous. But
I don't know. But pulling the handle makes me want to go play a slot machine.
Dude, seriously, we should take a trip.
Let's go right now. It's our show. We can end this.
Yeah, let's go now. We'll just call in and do it from the road.
Let's go to Kansas City. We can do it from the road. Dude, we'll be there in an hour.
Well, yeah, because you can fly jets.
Really, you're gonna? Take over one jet.
I'm saying the libertarians. I understand you're for small government. So
I am.
Ryan. So isn't a lot of the Republicans, for the most part, true Republicans and conservatives, not rhinos. You're for individual liberty. Not that different from true conservative.
That's pretty much libertarian.
Right. I don't see why they could not get behind this ticket. Because, and I know that you sometimes argue, well, if Obama gets in for this 4 years, then we could wrap up for the next 12 years after that.
I don't argue that. I think that's a horrible idea because I think in another 4 years of Obama, I think this country would be. I don't want to.
You turned the corner on that a little bit.
No.
The last few months.
No, I said that I think it will happen. But what I've wondered is if the Republican strategy has been to lose this election. I've wondered that openly, and I think that's a valid question. However, I think with Paul Ryan as a running mate for Mitt Romney, I think that says to me that maybe they want to win because they're actually trying to energize their base and get the votes.
I think they're trying to win too. I think, and it could have been up in the air for a while.
But they have to take the Senate also.
What was that?
They have to take the Senate also.
Oh no, they have to take it all. But I kind of wonder if it was one of those things where they were feeling it out. Like, could they get enough people bolstered for Romney? They felt that they did. They felt that he had a good momentum, and then they threw Ryan on it. I think that's going to bring up good momentum. I think it's a good thing. I would have waited to the convention on Saturday.
Right.
But maybe this will get people interested in the convention. It's so hard because I think they wanted to get the Ron Paul vote early and get it out there early so people aren't going into the convention saying, I'm going to vote for Ron Paul vice president. I think now they'll go into the convention saying, well, I don't know, maybe Paul Ryan is a good choice, and it'll start to get that ball rolling. But on the other hand, if you really want to get conservatives energized and watch the convention and get them fired up for the election, you need to have the announcement at the election. So it's that catch-22. He made the decision he did. We could second-guess it all day long. It doesn't matter.
Have you ever read Catch-22?
Yes, I have.
What do you think of it?
I don't know. I'll tell you later.
Huh.
I do say somebody from the Cato Institute, David Boaz, said Ryan is going to be very attractive to the broad libertarians. So
he's very attractive anyways. Let's face it.
Most women think so, too.
Have you ever heard of a hook-leg spider?
Yeah, it was just found in Oregon in a cave.
Nice one.
So I'm going to take a call for you. I know who it is. You ready?
Hang on, let me get my button up so I can hang up on him. Go.
Hey, Rooster, how you doing?
Rooster!
What's up, guys?
How you doing, man?
I've called to tell Clint why he's way off base.
Well, we're listening.
Go ahead, go for
Clint,
kickoff.
let's go back about 8 months.
8 months? I can't remember 8 days ago.
Sure, you can
kidding?
remember 8 months
months
ago. You got Herman Cain, we got Newt Gingrich, we got Rick Santorum, Michelle Bachmann, Rick Perry, and good old Mitt sitting over there. Mitt's got 33% of the vote, and the rest of them together are pulling 67%.
Right, Gingrich was starting to surge.
Right, Gingrich surges, Mitt does his thing, Gingrich drops out.
Okay.
Gingrich is gone, Mitt picks up none of those votes. Now Herman Cain surges. Mitt does his thing.
Then Herman Cain gets set up by the left.
Or the right, depending on how you look at it.
Right, okay.
Now Herman's gone.
I won't argue that with you.
Okay.
Mitt picks up none of those votes. Here comes Newt again. He's risen from the dead. Mitt's still getting 33% of the vote.
I feel like I'm watching a horse race.
He does his thing against Newt again. Now Newt's gone. Now we got Rick Santorum.
Okay.
Rick starts beating him. But Rick doesn't have the money. So Rick's gone.
Well,
but the other 67% of those votes,
winning, he'd have the money.
I'm sorry?
I think if Rick was really winning, he'd have the money, because if he was winning, he'd have the supporters to give him the money.
But he got into it too late.
Yeah, go ahead, Rooster. I want to know where you're going with this. I'm intrigued right now.
Okay, so now you've got Mitt sitting out there, and I know that Clint wasn't a big Mitt fan.
I'm still not.
I'm not a Mitt fan. I will be holding my nose when I vote Mitt. But
I don't know. I know that I'm going to vote for Mitt.
Yeah, I'm going to vote for Mitt too. But
I don't know if I'm going to. I may vote third party.
He hasn't made up his mind.
I haven't made up my mind yet. But this Paul Ryan.
So now you've got Mitt that, for all intents and purposes, should be up by double digits against President Obama.
Correct.
And he's not.
Correct.
He's losing. And if the election were held today, he would lose.
Well, yeah, but the election isn't being held today.
I understand that. I don't know. So what does he do? He goes and gets Ryan. And he's hoping by getting Ryan, he can somehow generate the kind of excitement that he's been looking for the last 8 months and just can't get. He needs to tap somebody else to get it. But Ryan's not the one to do that. Mitt needs to think about the so-called war he's having with Sarah Palin. He needs to think about not letting the libertarians speak at the convention.
He can't stop that.
He can't stop that. It's his convention.
No, they have too many delegates. They can still, they can still pull force a vote.
I understand that, but you can also go to them and say, Mr. Paul, we'd like you to give the keynote speech, or we'd like you to do this speech, or we'd like you to do this during the convention, and make them include them somehow. He's totally disregarding all these other votes that were out there that were not for him.
Well, I think even if Ron Paul gave a speech, he still has such a following, and his delegates could still cast their votes for him. And I think still. I mean,
we've said this last week after the show. Ron Paul people are Ron Paul people at the end. Right, wrong, or indifferent, and I don't disagree with their enthusiasm. And like I said,
I like their enthusiasm.
I like Dr. Paul. I don't agree with everything what he has to say, but I do like Dr. Paul. I don't know if he would make a great president. I think he'd make a good vice president.
I think he'd make a great head of the Fed.
Oh, he would make it out.
He'd make a great head of the Fed.
Absolutely, and he may end
for
up
about
there.
a week until he fires himself.
No, I don't think he'll end up there. I don't think Romney will have anything to do with him, which is
that's Romney's problem. Is Romney doesn't want to have to do anything with conservatives, true conservatives, Tea Party conservatives, Ron Paul libertarian conservatives. All he's worried about is the old guard Republican Party, who felt that it's now his time because he's paid his dues after all these elections he's gone through.
But
that only amounts to 33% of the party anymore.
It does, but he knows.
So he had to do something, and he did it with Ryan.
Correct. So let me propose this to you. There's a lot of people, I think, out there like you who, when it comes time to vote,
I don't think there's anybody else out there like him.
There's nobody else out there like Rooster, but when it comes to voting, you're a one of a kind, sir. When it comes to voting, I think a lot of people are so turned off by this president. And listen, polls are polls. They've been wrong before. Rasmussen I like because they're pretty consistent, but polls have been wrong before. I think there's a lot of people that come November are going to walk through, close that gate behind them, turn around twice, balance the ball in the head, whatever they have to do to vote in their district, and they're going to vote for Romney because it's not Obama. And I hate to say it, but in this election, anyone who's not Obama could have done well.
It's kind of like last election, and it was not Bush.
Right.
But you should be saying that now, and you're not. And the problem is the libertarian type people, they don't believe in weighing their vote that way. If they're for somebody, they will vote the way they feel, and so will the Tea Party.
I'm not talking specific libertarians. Tea Party, I don't know, because I think with Ryan, he's big Tea Party love. So I think with Ryan,
he's not the Tea Party though. And the whole point of my post is you've got Sarah Palin sitting out there, and she's the one that can rile the Tea Party. And I'm not saying make her vice president. I don't think she'd do it.
I don't think she'd do it either now.
Get her involved.
Yeah,
she's 4 for 4 in endorsements this year. She and she alone got Ted Cruz that victory.
Yep.
It was her money, and it was her people. And she's done it for 3 others this year, and she turned over the House to the GOP back in 2010, and nobody can argue with me that it wasn't her and her alone, because it was her.
No, I agree with you. She energized a lot of people in 2010, and it'll be interesting to see what her role is after the fact. Now, part of her role might just be... So does
Mitt Romney think that by picking Paul Ryan, he's going to get the Tea Party to like him? The same guy that has also told Sarah Palin that the Tea Party does not like him.
No. Who, Ryan?
No, they like Ryan.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He's not trying to get the Tea Party.
But they don't like Mitt, and Mitt is the one that's dissing their leader.
No, I understand that, but he's not trying to get them...
They'll wait 4 years and vote for her in 2016.
He's trying to get them to like Paul Ryan, and therefore he'll get the vote vis-a-vis in that perspective.
French?
It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
But I'm not saying it's going to work and not going to work, but I think that's his plan of attack.
No, I think it's already. I think he's already picked up a bump. I think he's going to pick up some of the conservatives who were on the fence, who were kind of waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
I think he's going to pick them up with Ryan. He will, including some of those Tea Party people, because Sarah Palin may not get behind Romney, but she'll get behind Ryan, and having Ryan's name attached to that ticket, with hopes of having him in the VP role for 4 or 8 years, and then giving him a shot in 8 years at the presidency. I think that's going to be an angle, and I think that's where he'll pick up some of that support. I think that he knows.
You got Sarah Palin out there saying, "I want to run for president in 2016."
Maybe, but maybe she won't. I think maybe you'll have a Ryan Palin ticket.
I really think that she's been burned so bad by the Republicans the first time around. She, for a while, she was made the scapegoat of 2008, which was just not right.
That backfired on them, too.
Oh, it backfired terribly, but they still did it. I think she's a little bit burned by the Republicans, and it could be the fact that she's waiting for the old guard to kind of go away and get the newer, younger conservatives, more true conservatives to come in. I don't know. I don't know what her plan is.
You know what? You may see a split of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
You already have. You got to
yeah,
split
but
now.
you may see an official split.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it could.
I'd love to see that.
This is how parties are born.
And you're seeing a lot of younger conservatives start to come on board, and I think Ryan and Palin would really garner them. You're seeing there's a group out there right now called Resist 44. You've seen them on Twitter. I've been to their website. There's a lot of young conservative groups really starting to pick up steam. So I don't know. I think he's going to get the bump from the Tea Party. Ryan will, and I think it'll just benefit Romney. I think a lot of
it's not going to hurt Romney.
It's not going to hurt him.
I mean, another pick could have hurt Romney if he picked another moderate. If he picked somebody who was a progressive Republican like a John McCain or something like that, I think that would have hurt him. I think he would have been done. But with this pick with Ryan, I think it definitely gives him a boost and brings some of those conservative voters on board to him that he otherwise wouldn't have had.
Honestly, we're not that far off. I think that's exactly why he did it. You know, he couldn't go for Portman. He couldn't go for Tubby in New Jersey.
Well, then what was I wrong about? What was I wrong about, sir? What was I wrong about?
The reason he took Ryan is he's trying to make up for not even touching the Tea Party. He can't win this election without the Tea Party.
Yeah, but and I agree with you.
They need to come out of their homes, put their guns down, and come out like they do for Cruz, and come out like they did in 2010. And he was running the risk of that not happening.
I think they're going to, though, now with Ryan. I also think that they may.
Yeah, I'm not there yet.
I think a lot of people have come
there's
out
some bad blood there.
If you picked a moderate, but I also think a lot of independents who are worried about the economy are going to get behind this ticket now. I think a lot of independents who are seeing through the Obama BS are going to vote the other way now. So I think he's also picking up a lot of independents with Ryan. And I'll tell you, the other thing, too, is Obama and the Republicans may not be getting it, but Obama is losing a large amount of the Jewish vote in Florida, and that's
that's going to be huge.
That's huge.
Look, here's the other thing with Ryan. Ryan can debate and speak intelligently on a broad spectrum of issues without a teleprompter. He's very articulate. He can get the message out there. He's a classy guy. He's a good-looking guy, which, you got Obama, who's a younger, good-looking guy who was out there and garners a lot of support because of that.
You mean
Ryan,
he won't threaten to enslave the blacks again?
What?
Oh, hey, don't be jumping ahead of us. What, are you getting a copy of our script? What are you doing?
Come on, Bruce.
Come on,
what did I
man. I'm out. I'm taking a break.
No, you went there. You went there. I just kind of threw a little snarky line out there.
Hey, Rooster, I'm gonna throw you on hold. We gotta take a break, and then we come back. You threw it out there. We're gonna discuss Uncle Joe, or as I like to call him, Slackjaw Joe, and his comments from this week. And we also have a top 10 list of some of his best comments out there. So stick around, Rooster. I'm going to throw you on hold, all right, buddy?
All right.
And I'll talk to you guys in a minute. Sackheads Radio, if you want to call in, 347-205-9399. Chat room's open.
Not even a teaser. We will not be held responsible for any hearing impairments or damage caused to you
I love that.
excessive exposure to this sound.
Oh.
Sackheads Radio.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. We're fortunate enough to have our friend Vanessa do our news briefs. If you like her news briefs, she is a voiceover talent. Check out Platinum Vocal Cords. She has over 15 years radio and voiceover experience. Graduated Northwestern State University with a liberal arts degree. Don't let that scare you, folks. She is a true Sackhead. Please check her out. Again, that's PlatinumVocalCords.com. Thank you.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sack Kids Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sack Kids Radio sent you.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the wingnut leaders throughout the world to give our men and women of the armed forces a job, as well as all the anarchists, terrorists, and Occupy folks that give our men and women in uniform on the home front, firefighters, law enforcement personnel, and first responders, job security here in the States as well. So thank all you wingnuts out there. This is Sackhead Clint saying have a good day.
Due to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
3, 2.
I love how you're still doing the countdown. We discussed previously that it's completely unnecessary.
Hey, now welcome back our two professionals, Clint and Sean.
I can never tell. I know you're on. What? You're a rock concert?
So going into the break, Rooster blew our little teaser.
Are you really going to get me started again?
If you don't, hey guys, if you don't,
I didn't even get out a stinking teaser. I didn't get to do my teaser. I had a great line scripted out that I don't even get to. What?
We're live.
I know. I apologize. Boston lost.
So if you don't know Rooster, he's from conservativeoutcry.net. He's one of the bloggers on there. He's a good friend of the show. Also, our forums are up on there, so feel free to stop by and check them out. I'm going to talk about now Uncle Joe.
Let's do his top 10.
Well,
let's do his top 10.
Once again, and I found these on the Daily Caller, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but some of them.
Oh yeah, no, we're going through all of them because these are great.
You pick your first one that you want to go with, and I'll let you go.
I'm going to go. Ready? Okay. My first one, again, from the Daily Caller. I guess what I'm trying to say without boring you too long at breakfast, and y'all look dull as hell, I might add. Biden said to a group of donors in April this year, the dullest audience I've ever spoken to, just sitting there staring at me. Pretend you like me.
That is Uncle Joe.
That's great.
This is the Vice President of the United States.
You know what? I would vote for this guy just because that is hilarious. I want somebody who would. You know what? I don't even want him to have a press secretary. No, I want him to go in front of the media and ask questions and just be like, "You look dull as hell. Give me a scotch."
And one of his biggest gaffes was just after healthcare was passed in 2010 when he was he introduced the president. As he's walking away, he could be overheard saying, "This is a big effing deal," which that alone killed me because I'm like, here's the thing he's been pushing for, right, wrong, or indifferent, for 2 years, and you're going to drop the F-bomb at the middle of his biggest moment to date in his mind.
I want to watch football and drink beer with him.
I do. He's one of those guys.
Seriously.
I want to bring him to Disney World drunk. See how soon do we get kicked out.
No, it's the Matterhorn. You'll be fine.
Oh, my gosh. So it kills me. So in 2008, he was on a campaign stop in Ohio, and he was talking about McCain's economic plan. He said, look, John's last-minute economic plan does nothing to tackle the number one job facing the middle class, and that happens to be, as Barack says, a three-letter word, jobs. J-O-B-S, jobs. This guy is awesome. Another great quote from 2000. This is just in April 2012. He was trying to reference the Teddy Roosevelt quote, "Speak softly and carry a big stick, you'll go far." And he just kept saying, "I promise you, the president has a big stick. I promise you."
Okay.
He doesn't think, he just blabs, and I love that about him.
Okay, what about this one? You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
That was in 2006. And he said that to an Indian American man.
Right.
That was supposed to be a private remark.
But it was caught on camera at C-SPAN. Yeah. How about this one? I mean, you got the first mainstream African American who was articulate and bright and clean and a nice looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
That was
really
07. In 08, he was telling a state senator to stand up, and he quotes, "Stand up, Chuck. Let them all see you."
Oops.
Now, that may sound a little dumb. It's even worse because it was Ohio Senator Chuck Graham who was confined to a wheelchair. So this is the vice president. Now,
so wait a second. So the vice president was poking fun at a disabled person?
No, I just don't think he had...
No, hang on. Let's go with this.
He had
Was he poking fun at a disabled person? Because this could be a whole new segment of the American population that should not vote for the Obama-Biden ticket. Because clearly he hates handicapped individuals.
No, I just think he's...
This quote proves it. We're going to operate like the left right now. This proves...
We're taking a page on the left playbook right here.
Yeah, Rules for Radicals. This one quote proves that Obama-Biden team does not like handicapped Americans.
I will not allow you to do this.
Yeah, well, hang on a second.
Nope.
Okay, prove me wrong.
I will prove you wrong.
Go ahead.
Have you heard Joe Biden talk?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
And I heard him say,
"Do you agree
stand
that
up, clearly mocking,
to think before the words come out of his mouth?" He's worse than me.
You know what? That makes it worse because now it's subconscious. Now he's clearly trying to mock this man in his subconscious, and he didn't think, and so he voiced it. That's despicable.
I'm going to move on. So
.org. See? We're taking this. We're going to run this. We just became a left-wing radio show.
Don't say that. Look, the chat room just
official.
Oh, my goodness. So back in, I think it was like May.
Come on, liberals, back me up.
Joe's talking about, Uncle Joe, Slackjaw Joe is talking about his parents having high hopes for their son. And he said, "My mother believed and my father believed that if I wanted to, I could be president of the United States." I could be. I could be vice president. What? It's almost... I often, have you ever met a town drunk?
Yeah, Joe Biden.
He's not a bad guy.
From Andy Griffith, Otis.
Yeah, he's like Otis, where he's not hurtful per se, but he just says...
What do you mean he's not hurtful? He hates handicapped people.
We are moving on, folks.
So I'm going to resurrect that 3 weeks from now, just so you know.
So this leads us up to this week. And this week, Joe was talking, and he was talking at a Democrat event, and he's talking about Romney and Ryan ticket and what they want to do with the big banks, and just listen to his statement. Mind you, and the left has already tried to come out.
No, just play it.
Okay.
Just play it.
Romney wants to he said in the first 100 days, he's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
So that's that's our vice president.
And who was he speaking to?
It was a Democratic thing. A large amount of the folks in attendance that day were African American. So
now hang on a second. So he's basically insinuating that the Republican Party wants to put African Americans back in chains. A slavery reference. Now, am I hypersensitive in believing, because you won't let me say he hates handicapped people, are you telling me that is not a slavery reference?
I can't say no.
So it is clearly a slavery reference. Wants to put y'all back in chains, and he does it with that little BS drawl that he had going on.
Right, he's from Pennsylvania, by the way.
Right, yeah, so he clearly has a southern drawl. Saying that the Republicans want to put African Americans back in chains. So let's have a history lesson.
Well, Romney was
no. Hang on.
Ago, so
he was just what?
He was just killing somebody 2 weeks ago.
Right, and now he wants to enslave African Americans again. So let's look at this. how did the Republican Party form? Does everybody forget history?
Yes.
Did you know Dr. Martin Luther King was a Republican?
Wait, what?
Look,
that's impossible.
Hang on. The Republican Party came about as a result of the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Okay, settlers where it said settlers would decide if their state would be free or slave. And in 1854, the Democratic Party was opposed to this. They wanted more slaveholding states. Obviously, they wanted more pro-slavery representatives elected and so forth, and wouldn't stand on this. The Republican Party was initially formed. Are you out of coffee?
Sorry, go ahead.
I apologize. Here, pour some of this in there. This is.
No, I'm good. Go.
No, just pour some of this in there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The Republican Party was formed as an anti-slavery party. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican.
You remember him, folks?
I don't know if they knew him personally. I'm just saying. Let me read you the Republican.
Kind of a big effing deal.
He was kind of a big effing deal. The Republican Party platform of 1856. Let me read you something. Resolved that with our Republican fathers, we hold it to be a self-evident truth that all men are endowed with the inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that the primary object and ulterior design of our federal government were to secure these rights to all persons under its exclusive jurisdiction, that as our Republican fathers, when they had abolished slavery in all our national territory, ordained that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, it becomes our duty to maintain this provision of the Constitution against all attempts to violate it for the purpose of establishing slavery in the territories of the United States by positive legislation prohibiting its existence or extension therein, that we deny the authority of Congress of a territorial legislation of any individual or association of individuals to give legal existence to slavery in any territory of the United States while the present Constitution shall be maintained.
Translation.
That's the Republican platform of 1856.
Can you break that down into intelligent conversation for me?
I'm
sorry. Do the exact opposite of intelligent. Break that down into moron talk.
Okay.
For me.
The Republicans didn't like slavery.
What?
And they felt that the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence clearly suggested all men, including slaves. Slaves were not property. They were individuals. And that, as such, the rule of law applied to them. So the Republican Party is formed. We end up fighting a civil war. You had Southern Democratic representatives Preston Brooks and Lawrence Keat out of South Carolina. Charles Sumner was a representative who gives a speech, I believe it was 1856, just a scathing anti-slavery speech. And Preston Brooks and Lawrence Keat, again, these are Senate representatives of the Democratic Party, beat him with a cane and leave him lying on the floor motionless. And one of them is quoted as saying, "I should have killed him," or something to that effect, or "next time I'll have to kill him," as he walked off the Senate floor. That was Brooks that
Isn't
said
that
that.
the party of peace and loving and understanding?
Oh, yeah, but progressives will say today, oh, no, the parties are totally different now. No, because let's fast forward to the Civil Rights Movement. Everybody is familiar, or most people, I believe, are familiar with Brown v. Board of Education.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Supreme Court ruling that declared that state laws which established separate public schools for black and white students said that those laws were unconstitutional.
Right.
Okay, it basically overturned Plessy v. Ferguson, which was a decision in 1896, which allowed state-sponsored segregation under the guise of, hey, separate but equal, right? If it's equal, if they're separate, you maintain separate facilities and whatnot. So Brown v. Board of Education overturned that and basically said, no, state laws that separate public schools for those students is unconstitutional. Now, you had some members of Congress write a manifesto, and it was called the Southern Manifesto, and it was in direct response to the Supreme Court ruling basically abolishing segregation. And they claimed that the Supreme Court overreached its authority, that it was an unwarranted exercise of power by the court, contrary to the Constitution, creating chaos and confusion in the states that it affected, destroying the amicable relations, this is a quote, between the white and Negro races that have been created through 90 years of patient effort by the good people of both races. Okay, so I'm going to read you the people who signed this Southern Manifesto, which blasted the Supreme Court for striking down the segregation laws. And this was way, way, way back on March 12th of 1956. So this is ancient history, 1956. Okay. From the United States Senate, John Sparkman, Democrat, Alabama. Lister Hill, Democrat, Alabama. William Fulbright, Democrat, Arkansas. John McClellan, Democrat, Arkansas. George Smathers, Democrat, Florida. Spencer Holland, Democrat, Florida. Walter George, Democrat. Richard Russell, Democrat. Alan Ellender, Democrat. Russell Long, Democrat. James Eastland, Democrat. John Stennis, Democrat. Samuel Irvin, Democrat. W. Kerr Scott, Democrat. Storm Thurmond, Democrat. Although in 1968 he did switch to the Republican Party, but guess what? In 1956 he signed the Southern Manifesto, and he was staunchly against any kind of civil rights legislation. Olin Johnson, Democrat. Price Daniel, Democrat. Harry Byrd, Democrat. A. Williams Robertson, Democrat. Now let's look at the House of Representatives. That was everybody everybody that signed it from the Senate, folks. Not one Republican. All Democrats. United States House of Representatives. Bear with me, folks. I'm gonna make it a point by being completely absurd and repetitive, but we're gonna listen to these names. George Andrews, Democrat. Frank Boykin, Democrat. Carl Elliott, Democrat. George Grant, Democrat. George Huddleston, Robert Jones, Albert Raines, Kenneth Roberts, Armistead Selden, all Democrats from Alabama. Let's go to Arkansas. Ezekiel Gathings, Orrin Harris, Brooke Hayes, Wilbur Mills, William Norrell, James Trimble, all Democrats. Florida, Charles Bennett, James Haley, Albert Herlong Jr., D.R. Matthews, Paul Rogers, Robert Sykes, all Florida, all Democrat. Georgia, Inns Blitch, Paul Brown, James Davis, John Flint, Tick Forrester, Phil Landrum, Henderson Lanham, J.L. Pilcher, Prince Preston, Carl Vinson, Georgia, all Democrats. Louisiana, Hale Boggs, Overton Brooks, F. Edward Herbert, George Long, James Morrison. Don't look at me. We're going through this. I'm proving a point. Otto Passman, Thompson, Edwin Willis, all Democrats. Go ahead, take your headset off. Thomas Abernathy, William Colmer, Smith, Witten, Williams, Winstead, Alexander, Barden, Bonner, Carl, Durham, Fountain Jones, Shuford, Ashman, Dorn. I'm going to stop because you're just staring at me. Every single one of those signatories are Democrats. Not one Republican signed that. And a lot of these individuals have schools named after them. They have libraries named after them. These people are celebrated Democrats in the states they are, and they signed this trash. So Alveda King, who is the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., wrote an article about how Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was, in fact, a Republican. She wrote A Covenant with Life, Reclaiming MLK's Legacy. And she is, again, the direct niece of Martin Luther King Jr. And in that article, she states, quote, my grandfather, Dr. Martin Luther King Sr., or Daddy King, was a Republican and father of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was a Republican. The Republican Party is, you have slavery, where the Democrats actually fought to expand it. The Republicans fought, as we demonstrated, to ban it. You have the Democratic race under Reconstruction. The Democrats started the Ku Klux Klan in 1866, and the purpose was to lynch and terrorize Republicans, black and white, in order to drive the Republicans out of the South. There's a cartoon in 1868, which was printed in the Tuscaloosa, Alabama Independent Monitor, which shows a picture of a Democrat donkey with KKK written on the side, lynching two white Republicans in Ohio. So yeah, they're peaceful. You had that.
Well, yeah, they maintain that peace now. It's called Occupy Wall Street. Just a peaceful movement, grassroots.
In 1877, there was a Hayes-Tilden Compromise, which was an attempt by the Republicans to get Democrats to stop lynchings. That didn't work out so well. The Democrats fought to prevent the passage of civil rights legislation throughout history. The first Black Americans to found and head the NAACP in 1909 were Republicans. Way back in 19.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was like 3.
Do I need to go on?
No, and tell me if the point you're trying to make, and if I'm way off, throw something at me, as I know you will, is why do the African American community who votes in this country votes Democrat? Why? Is that the point you're trying to get to?
What I'm trying to get is the Democratic Party has and they've co-opted this civil rights movement when historically they have been anti-civil rights. And even now, you look at the policies of the left, and I'm going to get slammed for saying this, but you look at the policies of the left, those policies are not in place in order to assist people in African American communities or even people in lower income communities to be able to get ahead, to give them an equal chance. The system is designed to keep them in this place of squalor. It really is. I mean, you look at the welfare program and the food stamp program and these other things, and what kind of assistance are they getting? What kind of a skill are the people in these communities getting to be able to help themselves to get a job or to have a skill or anything like that? They're getting handouts, and I suggest that that's on purpose in order to keep them in that position and to maintain a voting base. Give them cake. You give them cake and they'll vote for you. And that's what I think is being done. I mean, people they talk about Nixon's Southern strategy as being, racially motivated and so forth. But that began in the 70s as an effort of Nixon to get people of the South to stop voting Democrats who were discriminating against the African Americans in that area. I'm so tired of the Democratic Party and those on the left co-opting the civil rights movement. When Dr. Martin Luther King, he said it, content of character. He wanted to be judged on the content of his character, not the color of his skin. He didn't want a free handout for his people, and it sickens me that Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, these people were there with. They knew Dr. Martin Luther King. They know what his message is, but they've perverted it, and it makes me sick.
Well, yeah, and I was trying to look up the audio as you were reading through all that, and actually I waited to the last minute, and then I started looking it up, and I realized I couldn't get it. But this week, the spokesperson for the Black Panther Party was talking about the Republican convention coming to Miami tomorrow, and essentially saying that they were going to assault and do whatever they could to disrupt and hurt the Republicans down there. And it's all over YouTube. I don't have it right now. It's been played all over the major networks. And she was very specific, explicit, vulgar about just the Republicans in general. And instead of just saying, hey, we at the Black Panthers don't agree with you, they were threatening. I mean, it was, if you listen to it, I don't even know if we could play the full clip just because there is so much vulgarity in it, and that's something that we're trying to avoid on the show. It's mind-boggling to think that the history that I don't know where they're paying attention to. I don't know what they're reading. I know they hear a president who stands up and tells successful people that
if you've got a business, that you didn't build that
the government built it. Everything he says specifically is designed to get people to embrace and become part of the government system. I don't know where we've lost it. I don't know why people aren't reading history. Don't believe what you see on Wikipedia and sites like that, because I can go up there right now and change it all, and it'll take somebody a while to figure it out and change it back. Look at your history. Look at the history of our country. Look at the left. Look at the right. And we talked before that there's some things that the Democrats and the Republicans have swapped on. We've mentioned that. But
you know what? Let's look at what the Democratic Party has done today for the black community.
Okay.
Okay, that was a short segment.
It's not true. They just did that executive order we talked about last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Look, they've designed this ability to. And you say they co-opt it, and I say they hijacked all the civil rights movement in this country. I don't think co-op's a nice word.
Well, the co-op is a nice word. I think hijack is. I like your word better. You know what? The Republicans tried to provide school choice scholarships and programs so that parents in poor communities, specifically African American parents, could get their children out of failing schools. Mm-hmm. And the Democrats fought that vigorously and blocked it because they put the special interest of the teachers union over the families.
Wait, are you saying they once again pandered? I didn't mean once again. They finally pandered to the teachers union?
Yeah.
Oh no, I meant once again.
Yeah, no, you meant once again. That's just there you go. That's just.
It's Groundhog Day.
What about who runs the poor African American communities in this country? Pretty sure it's
the governments.
Pretty sure it's the Democrat. The Democrats have control in those cities.
Yeah.
How's that working out for everybody?
Well, and it's funny how this is a repeating thing because we talked about this. We talked about Chicago and guns a few weeks ago. Has one of the highest criminal rates in the country. It has the most gun violence, but yet guns have been outlawed there for so long. It's the same thing. It's crazy, but it's the same thing. And the chat room, somebody in the chat room just said, if you make them happy while people are poor, if you make them happy in the stance that you're in, it guarantees you votes. And I don't agree with that, and I don't think people want that. I think they settle for it sometimes because the alternatives are not there. But I don't think the average person has pride when they get a government check. If they're getting a government check and they don't have to do anything for it, anybody. Yeah, anybody. It doesn't matter who you are.
It doesn't matter who you are. You're getting money for free to do nothing. What's the motivation to do anything? What was it? 2005, the Republicans finally achieved the extension of welfare reform that allowed the money to be used for job training and child care as opposed to just a handout. And what I think didn't Obama just overturn that again?
Yeah,
with an executive order.
Well, yeah, because let's face it, he loves those executive orders. I have to apologize. It wasn't just somebody in the chat room. It was Rooster. I got yelled at for not giving him credit where it's due. But my thing is it's Groundhog Day. People are not going back and learning from our history. And it seems like, and I know the argument, too, that shows up occasionally is that the Democrats are deciding a lot of times what's being taught in schools because they have hold of the teachers union and they have a big influence.
And the school boards.
And the school boards, which are notoriously ex-teachers, so they're notorious Democrats.
The Democrats did make Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday a holiday. Oh, no, never mind. That was President Ronald Reagan. Never mind. Forget I said anything. That was a Republican that did that. I'm sorry. I thought I had something. I'm trying to find something that the Democrats did.
I'll tell you what the Democrats did. They keep making false promises. They keep turning around and telling people that they need government. They discourage people going out and doing stuff on their own and encourage people to sign up for these government programs that they don't necessarily need. And the other thing they do, too, and this makes me so mad.
Go ahead.
A lot of people on welfare and unemployment and all that stuff take home more money than they would be if they were making minimum wage jobs. Not everybody. So I'm not saying that this is a total blanket statement. But isn't the government kind of competing with those people to stay home versus, you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense to me. And a lot of times people get into it so easily where they're legitimately out hurt for a short period of time or they're legitimately going welfare for a short period of time, but they keep getting so much stuff thrown at them that they don't want to get off, like you said. But I think some of them, too, it starts being a pride thing. Like they're afraid to have to go into a job, and when somebody says, hey, what are you doing right now? Well, I'm on welfare. And I think that's part of it. I think people are still prideful despite, doesn't matter what your financial situation is, what your race is, what your background. People have a certain sense of pride. And when they can't look themselves in the mirror, they can't look somebody else in the mirror. And it's upsetting to me because I'm sure there are plenty of youth in all communities who are not getting a fair handout right now, as far as, and when I say fair handout, I mean fair mental handout. Go to school, educate yourself, go out, be the person you want to be, but you can live your own life without the government handing you something. You can live your own life without showing up every twice a month or whatever it is to get your check. You know, and I've said before, I got laid off before. I was on unemployment. I was on unemployment for 2.5 weeks before I took a job that literally paid me less than unemployment because I couldn't stand being on unemployment. And not because I felt like it lowered me, but I was raised that you don't get something for nothing and that you earn. And, you know, the argument is, well, you pay unemployment insurance in a lot of states, so you did pay for that. No, that's not. It wasn't there for me. I was able-bodied. I was able to go out and find another job that eventually was able to pay the bills. But that's out there for people, as far as I'm concerned, that are beyond the ability to work. They're hurt. They're injured. You know, legitimate injuries, people that legitimately need to be taken care of. People who have a big family and that's the one thing I thought about. You know, I think of the guy who was working in the factory. The economy took a dump and got flushed, and he's got a wife and 3 kids at home, and here I am taking money when I didn't need to, and he may not. You know what I mean? Just that's the way I thought about that. And I had to get back to work. I had to get up, and I applied for everything I was slightly qualified for, which isn't a lot. I think McDonald's said no to me.
No, they did, because I saw the rejection letter that you printed out.
You know, but I absolutely, I couldn't stand it because I was raised not to stand it. I was raised, you know, I've been working since I was 14.
But you know what? The government has allowed it. And,
yeah, exactly.
And, I mean, this is I think, a generational thing where the party has, when I say the party, I mean the Democratic Party and the liberals have really failed the African American community because they have, and again, under the guise of getting votes and keeping that voting block, you know, like ancient Rome, give them cake. It's you know, give them entertainment and food, and they'll vote your way and not really be paying attention to what's going on. I think that's the problem.
Well, and how do we fix that?
Education.
Yeah.
Education. Doing what we're doing now, talking about it on a show, getting the word out.
And you know, the argument that I always hear when statements like that are made of, you know, the whole let them eat cake or give them cake, give them entertainment, is, well, they're not that dumb. And we're not saying they're that dumb. We're saying the government's making it that easy. And that's the problem. I mean, Obama just, lowered the welfare requirement?
Yeah.
And the work requirement for welfare not too long ago? It's the system is constantly being adjusted to allow people to do nothing. And the other thing they don't do is they don't go after the fraud that is just prevalent in the system right now, and it's just destroying it. And again, that makes me mad because I go back to the people that legitimately need it, that don't get it. But you see, I've seen how many times you walk in and you see people. I've seen people sell food stamps for money so they can go buy booze. I've seen people. It's insane, and it makes you wonder what is so wrong with this system. And I'll tell you what it is. It's so big it can't be monitored, and it's so widespread that it can't be monitored. And some people don't want it to change because, well, frankly, that would be difficult. You know, and this isn't.
I don't think it'd be difficult. I think people would lose votes.
Yeah,
and that's why they don't want it to change. Look, the Republican Party passed the Civil Rights Acts of 1866, of 1875. You have Richard Nixon, who instituted the first affirmative action program in 1969. President Richard Nixon, hey, you can say a lot of negative things about him, but you know what? He was a Republican, and he instituted the first affirmative action program. Dwight Eisenhower sent troops in order to I mean, George Bush, didn't he appoint more African Americans to high level positions than any other president in our history?
Yeah.
What He was a Democrat, though. Oh, no, he was a Republican. I mean,
the time is now to take off the rose-colored glasses about the Democrats and the liberals and the progressives. And the time is to start paying attention to what's right and where the real opportunities are. The real opportunities aren't getting the check. The real opportunities when there's jobs out there to go out and get it. And then, I heard somebody, I read they had one of those, what do you think about X, Y, and Z? And they were talking about EBT cards out this way. And one guy was like, I just think there's too many limitations on my EBT card. And I said to myself, well, if you had a job, and I don't know his situation, so I'm not necessarily saying him specifically, but other people who think that, if you have a job and you're able-bodied, nobody can tell you how to spend your money. And you can go out and buy what you want. And they had all those problems.
No, that's not true. They can tell you to buy health care.
Well, okay, up until recently.
Well, get your facts straight, Sean.
But then they went into this whole thing on how the EBT system in California is so abused that they were being used at casinos and places like that. And it's mind-boggling. It's so upsetting to me. It's so insane to me that this is allowed. It's encouraged by the left. And it's swallowed hook, line, and sinker sometimes. And that's just...
Not sometimes, all the time. I mean, I remember when they passed health care, Nancy Pelosi reenacting that whole civil rights march. They were linking arm in arm, walking out of the Capitol and down.
Yeah.
How sickening was that?
Yeah. Well, and you looked at Nancy Pelosi again. The Democrats turned, and we're going to get into Fast and Furious a little bit, but they turned the whole Fast and the Furious thing into a race issue. They ignored the facts that were in front of them. They ignored the fact that Holder was voted to be impeached by Congress over the facts in the case, and they made it about a race issue. Why? Because they know that'll grab headlines. They know that people who maybe don't follow politics like you and I do, and probably some of our listeners do, I'm going to go back and research and look at it all because there's so much there. It's just way too much. So that they're going to take it and they're going to see Nancy Pelosi walking out arm in arm with the Black Caucus and say, oh, they impeached Holder because he was black. Well, no. You look at the evidence, there's a ton of evidence. He didn't give what he was asked to, or not asked, he was ordered legally to give to the Oversight Committee led by ISIS, and they told him if he didn't, what was happening? He didn't do it, and all of a sudden, boom, he's contempt of Congress. They want to turn it into a race issue. I guarantee you right now, if Obama really starts to take a nosedive in the next couple months, you're going to see a lot more of these fake race wars come up because the liberals know to do that. And
because then they'll guilt people into voting for it.
Yeah. So it drives me crazy, and I'm sorry. I'm all spun up about this now, and I feel like I've been yakking here for the last 20 minutes.
No, you have been. I've just been listening to you because I gave my history lesson. And
Am I wrong?
I just watch you go off. I don't know. I stopped. I tuned you out about like 10 minutes ago.
So why don't we take a break, and we're going to change gears, and I'm going to get a breath of fresh air, so I don't want to put my fist through the screen.
If anybody wants to call and talk about what we just talked about, please feel free to call in.
If you want to have some
if that's all news to you, do some research and check it out because pretty interesting stuff.
Absolutely. So if you want to give us a call, the phone number is 372-005-9399. You're on the air with Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads Radio.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. We're fortunate enough to have our friend Vanessa do our news briefs. If you like her news briefs, she is a voiceover talent. Check out Platinum Vocal Cords. She has over 15 years radio and voiceover experience. Graduated Northwestern State University with a liberal arts degree. Don't let that scare you, folks. She is a true Sackhead. Please check her out. Again, that's PlatinumVocalCords.com. Thank you.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sack Kids Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sack Kids Radio sent you.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the wingnut leaders throughout the world, to give our men and women of the armed forces a job, as well as all the anarchists, terrorists, and Occupy folks that give our men and women in uniform on the home front, firefighters, law enforcement personnel, and first responders, job security here in the States as well. So thank all you wingnuts out there. This is Sackhead Clint saying have a good day.
Due to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
3, 2.
I love how you're still doing the countdown. We discussed previously that's completely unnecessary.
Hey, now welcome back, our true professionals, Clint and Sean.
Hey, and welcome back to Sackheads Radio. We do have a caller who wants to chime in on the last subject, so I'm going to bring him on the air. Hey, Willie, you on the air? Go ahead, sir.
How you making out? How's everything?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I was just listening to some of the things that you were saying as far as the left wants to start race baiting and the health care. Did you say the health care was wrong, or did you? I didn't quite hear what you said about health care.
We mentioned it a couple times. I don't know which specific one you're talking about. I think we used the healthcare, the march when they marched out in.
Correct.
Yeah, we talked about healthcare when Nancy Pelosi tried to recreate the civil rights march with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. After they won the victory for healthcare, and then we talked about it as Sean made a joke about nobody can require us to purchase anything, and so of course I chipped in with the individual mandate healthcare reference.
Okay, I just want to be clear on some things. Are you saying that healthcare is wrong? Or are you saying that universal healthcare is wrong?
I'm saying I will go on record as saying Obamacare is wrong just as it's written now.
I believe the individual mandate is unconstitutional. It's clearly not a tax. It was written in as a penalty, which makes it unconstitutional. And I disagree. I don't think the federal government has a role to manage the health care system. If anything, I think it could be argued as a states' rights issue like they did in Massachusetts, where they made it a state mandate, because I believe the 10th Amendment covers that if an individual state wants to implement that. Even though I may disagree with that state's implementation of it, I don't believe a state's implementation of that to be illegal. On the federal level, it's a clear violation of the Constitution.
Okay, so you feel as though the Supreme Court got it wrong? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I do. I believe that the Supreme.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
I believe the Supreme Court they did not define what a tax is accurately. The government, in their own words, and we have them on record calling it a penalty. And then when they argued it in front of the Supreme Court, they said, well, if you don't think it's a penalty, then maybe you can look at it from the standpoint of a tax. And that's how the Supreme Court ruled. They ruled it's a tax. The Supreme Court ruled on it. That's the law of the land now. So I'll accept it. If you look at what a tax is versus what a penalty is, it doesn't meet the definition of a tax. But that's neither here nor there. The Supreme Court ruled on it, and that's the law of the land.
Yeah, and I had the clip on our board forever, and I just took it down this week. But it was
we played it on one of our last shows.
General who argued that in front of the Supreme Court. He was very specific in saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me ask a specific question. Do you feel as though universal health care is wrong? Or do you just feel as though the way they have it set up is wrong?
define wrong, because I don't know how you mean that. Do you mean do I think it's morally wrong? Do I think it's legally wrong?
Morally wrong. Do you think it's morally wrong? Or put it this way. Go ahead. Let me hear you.
I think that, look, I think the best intention is there. I really believe that. Universal health care was passed with the intention of helping people. I don't question anybody's motives on that. What I believe is that the aggregate result of this healthcare system has the potential of collapsing the American economy. I mean, you look at healthcare and the percentage of the economy that it is, that it's unsustainable in that way. And you look at where other countries have tried it, and it's unsustainable the way it's set up. So do I think it's morally wrong? Absolutely not. Do I think it's legally wrong from a constitutional standpoint, the way our government is set up? Yes, I do on a national level. On a state level, I believe that it can still be legal. I may or may not agree with it as a matter of policy, but I think it's legal. So I think it's legally wrong on a federal level. I think it can be legally acceptable on a state level, and I think it's morally not wrong because the motivation is there to help people. Does that make sense?
A little bit. The only thing that I don't understand is if something is great for one particular state, why can it not be great for all of the states? That's where you begin to lose me at.
Because it's a question of legality. The United States Constitution has very specific rules for what the federal government can and cannot do.
Before you get that far, if it's good for a state, why is it not good for all of the states? Before you get all bogged down into so much of the technical things, because you can argue technicalities till the sun comes up.
That's not technicalities. That's the law of our land. I mean, that's a very.
Wait a minute.
No. You wait a minute. It's a very important thing when you have the law of the land that dictates what your federal government can and cannot do. And the Constitution is clear in that. And what may work in one state may not work in another state. You can't have the problems of Texas apply to what happens in Oregon or what happens in New York. It doesn't work that way. So what may be okay for one state may not be okay for another state. And the states have the right to decide what is best for them. And so you talk about technicalities. The Constitution is not a technicality. That's the law of the land. And if you read the documents and what the founders wrote and how they set our government up, it's very clear. The Supreme Court ruled on it. So as of right now, it is legal.
Right.
They misunderstood.
They misunderstood the Constitution. Is that what you're about to say? They misunderstood the Constitution?
What I'm saying is what they did is they ruled incorrectly on what a tax is. They ruled what a penalty is, which is what the government said in their own case, and they interpreted that to be a tax. I disagree with that interpretation of what it is because they did find the individual mandate unconstitutional under the Commerce Clause, which is what the government was originally arguing their case on. But what they found it to be upheld as, the individual mandate, they found it to be upheld as a tax as opposed to a penalty, which is what the government originally argued. They threw the tax in as an aside if you listen to the oral arguments.
Okay, so what is the race baiting? I just want to know, what exactly is race baiting? Because I know sometimes we throw a lot of things out there and hopefully that they stick, but give me the definition of race baiting. I mean, exactly. That I can understand it.
Off the top of my head, I don't have the Webster's Dictionary, but it's essentially charging up a one racial group over another by topics and facts and getting them, and sometimes misleading topics and facts that cause a whole base of people, in this particular case, racially motivated sometimes, to become upset at another group as a whole.
Okay. I like the fact that you said upset. Now, what particular race are we talking about? Because it sounds like a lot of conjecture to me, and it sounds a lot of the way you feel about it seems to be your opinion, and you're putting it out. I don't believe anything that was said.
Did you listen to any of Clint's history on the Republicans, the African American community, and the Democrats, dating back to Lincoln and beyond?
Did I listen to who?
For that? Clint did about a whole 20-minute speech, and he gave a history on the Republicans, Democrats, and all the way back to African American slaves, and then as late as the Civil Rights Movement. So did you pick up any of that in the show? Were you on then?
No, I wasn't on then, but I'll say this. What he said was, did he say anything that was factual, or did he say anything?
Yeah, he said everything that was absolutely factual. He quoted lists of facts as far as Democrat senators voting to maintain certain levels of slavery, and the Republicans who pushed to end it based on the Constitution.
You know what? You might be interested to download the show and read it later. I quoted. As a matter of fact, I read directly from an article that was written by Alveda King, who's the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who wrote A Covenant with Life, Reclaiming MLK's Legacy.
Okay.
I read from that and quoted her specifically. I quoted the Republican Party platform of 1856. I quoted legislation which was passed through Congress, and the Southern Democrats' push to overturn Brown v. the Board of Education, and how the Republicans have been a party. And if you look at history, and this is all historical fact, this isn't conjecture at all, how the Republican Party was formed in order to assist in the abolition of slavery and so forth. And you look at Abraham Lincoln. No, because you don't have your facts right if you're going to say no. You know what? End this call. This guy is clearly just wants to dispute some stuff. Right, look at if you want to look at facts, I'll be more than happy to talk facts, especially on an issue like this. You look at the history of the Republican Party, and you look at. I just read you right from the congressional record the list and party affiliation of everybody who signed the Southern Manifesto that was done. This gentleman who called in, while I understand he has an opinion, I respect that opinion, and I certainly welcome open discussion. But if we're going to discuss facts and history, and you're going to try and cut me off and say no, I'm sorry, this is my show, and you got to go. So I highly encourage him to download. He clearly didn't listen to the first part of the program. I hope he does so, because hopefully he might find something to learn, or if he thinks that I am incorrect, perhaps he can do some research himself and dig up some facts and either show specifically where I'm incorrect, or maybe get some more education on the issue, because I think it's an important topic for everybody in our country.
Well, that went so well. We're going to take another caller right away.
Okay.
You're on the air with Sackheads Radio. Hello.
Hi, how are you guys?
Doing well. How are you?
Hi.
Excellent, thank you. I'm just listening, and I was originally going to comment in, and I unqueued myself, but it's funny because I find a lot of Americans that are well-to-do that just want a handout. They're in... Excuse me?
Like, in which regard? How do they want a handout that Americans are well-to-do?
Let's say they have second or investment properties, or just...
Okay, that they for.
Hang on. Go ahead, ma'am.
Sorry, go ahead.
And I'm looking at their assets because I request their assets. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, you're saying that, all these banks got all this money. I mean, because they always come with this jargon. The government gave everything to the banks and blah, 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 and yet they don't give it to people that actually need it. And they do not need it.
No, they do give it to people that actually need it.
Hang on. I'm curious. So, and I want to make sure I understand you right. Are you saying that that the people who have a lot of money don't need it, and so they should give it to other people?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Okay.
I'm saying
that's why I want to make sure I get your. All right, go ahead.
So, I'm in real estate, and I'm in it in an aspect now that lends to different individuals. Okay. And the programs that are out there it's any lender. You're going to give a loan to someone who's 31% of their growth, right?
Okay.
So if you have a growth and I'm looking at it and you're manipulating the system, saying, oh, I'm in default, but yet I'm looking at your assets, I'm looking at different things, and you don't necessarily need it, and you can honestly afford something, but because the economy has changed, you're saying, oh, I deserve a principal reduction. I deserve this. No.
Well,
you go with the trends.
Right. So what you're saying is people, a lot of people across the spectrum are abusing the current system that is set up and the legislation that's been passed recently in order to kind of screw over the banks. They've signed a loan. They signed the terms of the agreement. The economy turned around and they don't like it. So now they're trying to work the system in order to get over, as opposed to just, hey, you can still afford it. It sucks, but now you're going to try and work the system to get out of it and actually make the problem worse. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, because my opinion is you signed the note. And if the market would have stayed the same and you would have still had the same equity, you would not be barking.
Right, and that's a valid point. And a lot of people that do that, and there are a lot of people that are doing that. They can. I mean, I think that I've seen some data out there that is absolutely contributing to what's happening today. I mean, if you can afford it,
they are the majority. It's not the people that actually deserve it that are getting it. It's the people that are manipulating the system that are getting it.
And you deal with it, so I would tend to believe you. I'm not in that market, so I don't see that. I can certainly see how that can happen, and I can see why you're saying that. I believe what you're telling me. I haven't done any research on that to pull any figures, but you're the one. You indicate you work for a lender, so I'm sure you see their income and their statements and so forth.
Right, and it to me it's very disheartening because I see people that honestly need help and that have honestly maybe lost their jobs, and I mean, unfortunately, if you can't repay a loan because you lost your job, that's not my fault either.
Correct. And why do you think people do that? Do you think that we've lost maybe some of our values or a lot of our values here as a society in this country?
I would definitely say that it is a value system, because when you infringe on my value, and it's so funny because I find people that once I do help them, and let's say that they are in a situation that they needed my help, they no longer want to even associate themselves. They just figure, oh, I got what I needed, and I'm good.
How do you fix that?
I'm just very, because I've worked on both ends of the spectrum. I mean, I'm in real estate, but because the market has changed, I changed my profession.
What do you do now?
You go with the trends.
What do you do now?
I do loans.
Okay. So how do you fix the problem?
When you don't have a person with integrity that you're working with, and I mean not myself, but individuals that are just, like you said, manipulating the system, it's very hard.
Well, and shouldn't the market itself be policing itself? Like, shouldn't the owners of those business, when they do a review of their employees who are doing stuff that they shouldn't on these applications, shouldn't those people be held accountable?
I'm not even speaking of the employees, because we are scrutinized to the tooth and nail. So it's not the employees, it's the American people that have no integrity. Everyone's
hopefully not everybody.
Well, I'm not saying everyone, because I don't want to lump all the people in one category. What I'm saying is there are a lot of people that are savvy in certain aspects, or at least think they are, but they're really not outsmarting anyone.
Okay. I have a question that came up from somebody in the chat room for you, and it's kind of a good question, so I'm going to ask it from Rooster. If the system crashed because of mismanagement, then why should they have bailed out the banks and not the people?
No one built up the banks because the banks paid back the money that was lended to them, or at least some of them.
Some of them. Right.
With penalties. Because some
I don't think
paid
anybody
off.
should be bailed out.
Huh?
I don't think anybody should be bailed out.
Well, if you're asking a bank,
it says a bailout to the banks. They could have said.
May I put it in a different term? Let's say, for instance, you loaned me $100,000, right?
Okay.
Okay. This is pretend, right?
Yeah, I don't even have close to $100,000 to I could probably loan you about $10.
No, because you owe that to me.
You loaned me $10.
Okay.
And I cannot pay you back. And I'm telling you that I can't pay you back, and it's because everything has depreciated. And you shouldn't want that same $10 back because everything has depreciated. So should I expect you to take a loss because you made a good business deal? And I took the $10 on good faith. Because you trusted me that I would pay you back the $10, right?
Right.
And is it your fault that things changed? And now I'm expecting you to take a loss because things changed.
Yeah, that's not fair. Just like it wouldn't be fair if just like it wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be fair if Sean loaned you $10 and then the dollar depreciated because the government kept printing money, and so now that $10 you would have to pay back $20, and so that wouldn't be fair for you to have to pay back $20 because the government screwed up either, right?
Well, it's not even the government. It's the trend of.
Yeah, but
it's just the trend.
That's with the dollar.
It's
really affecting the government, right?
Excuse me, sir.
It's not.
If that same $10 would have earned me $30, and I still could have paid you back the $10, and I would have made a $20 profit, I wouldn't be mad.
You're an evil capitalist. That's why.
I'm just saying.
No,
I like capitalists. It's okay.
Yeah, we're a fan of capitalism.
Yeah, we are big fans of capitalism.
But now that $10 is worth $5, and now I'm telling you, hey, you loaned me $10, and now I could still pay you back the $10, but I'm going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your fault? No, I should still pay you back what I owe you. Plus whatever
but I also entered into this deal, which for $10 is, for me, I would do a lot of research. I entered into this deal understanding the risks.
You are not arguing.
No, because you took a risk and I took a risk. You took a risk that I'm going to default on you and I may not ever pay you. And you know what? I may disconnect my phone number so you probably can't even contact me. And even if you did, I could file bankruptcy and hold you up that you can't even get your $10.
Right.
It might take you another 20 years to get back your
$20 and another $20 in legal fees.
Exactly.
So, to get back to Clint's question, it takes two to tango.
Well, look, it's the people who can't afford it, who are defaulting. That's a problem. Obviously, that's like you indicated. They're working the system. I don't necessarily agree with that. But if it's done in a legal manner, while we may not agree with it from a moral standpoint, if it's done in a legal manner and it's legal for them to do, while it may not be ethically correct, it's legal for them to do. Does that make sense?
That's where we need to get back to ethics in this country, and
right. So how do we fix that?
Yeah, you're in the market. If you could control the market right now and fix it, what would you do?
if I could control the market, what I would say is, you know what, you signed the note for that $10 and you owe it. And if you're smart enough to file bankruptcy and you could hold me off, that I don't have to that you don't have to pay me, then that's on you. That's your own, like you said, integrity.
Okay.
And if you're smart enough to manipulate the system, then that's on you.
Okay.
However, don't blame me for still going after you and keeping a judgment against you. And if you die, still keeping a judgment against you and still collecting that money from your kids, and they can't collect nothing else.
Now, let me ask you this. Say that happened, and I decided to sit in your lawn and protest and occupy your lawn. You know what? That's a different argument we'll have on a different day.
That's a whole different argument.
I agree. I think it does take two to tango, and I think the ethics in some of the banking transactions were as wrong as the ethics of those people who were forging their applications to get a home that they could never afford if they didn't.
Well, and you look at the relaxing of the guidelines that the federal government did also, and Fannie and Freddie and those practices and so forth. I mean, that contributed as well. And, bottom line is you had bad practices on the banking side and that side, but you also had people that signed on the loans without either understanding or without reading. Look, it's not their job to explain everything to you. It's your contract that you're signing. You need to know what's in it and know what you're signing. So I think there's fault on both sides.
Let me just tell you, I was on both sides, and I sold homes. And I told people, I was like, you know, you really can't afford this. But I can get this, and this is what I want. If I tried to show someone a smaller home, they didn't want it because they thought that their dollar stretched so much more.
Can I tell you a quick story? Just before the bubble burst, I was actually looking to purchase a home. And I went to 3 or 4 different realtors because I kept getting frustrated because I kept saying, hey, you know, this is my limit. This is how much I can afford. This is how much I can afford because I have money in savings. So if I lose my job unexpectedly, I can pay until I find another job, hopefully. I had it all planned out. Every single real estate, I bet you can tell me exactly what they did. I gave them a limit on how much I was willing to spend. What did they do?
They brought you a Barbie dream house.
No, they brought me to places I couldn't afford that was out of my range. And no matter how many times I said to them, hey, I don't want this, I can't afford this. Oh, no, because if you do X, Y, and Z, I had the numbers worked out ahead of time. I knew what I could really afford. I also knew about just the bad mortgages that would be given out and the ones that they were trying to get you to sign. So I was responsible enough to say, hey, no, something's not right. And it worked out because I ended up that was the job I got laid off from. And, you know, fortunately I didn't have a home to lose, so it worked out well. But, you know, I watched friends take loans that they shouldn't have been taking that there's no way they could afford, and people were letting it go through. And I'm one of those people, I'm like, if I'm going to spend $300,000 on a loan, I'm going to spend the extra $2,000 to go a really good real estate attorney, have them look over what it is, and just span it out and play it in English for me. Does that make sense? But
it makes sense, but even the realtor and the lender has a responsibility to point out the highlights. Basically, how much you're gonna pay, if the interest rate is gonna turn, when is it gonna turn, and you know, just basic things. So no matter if you were ignorant to I don't care if you were a first grader. Everyone pointed out the most important terms because that's our job.
No, and I'm going to move on here because I got another call on hold. I agree with you, but again, there was more than one person at fault there. It was a collaborative effort, rather. People that shouldn't be given loans were given loans, and people that were giving out loans to certain people shouldn't have been. Thanks for calling. I'm going to put you on hold, and I'm going to pick up another call.
Thank you very much.
Sackheads Radio, you're on the air.
Dude.
You know, whenever you speak, I get nervous. You know that, right?
I do, and that's why I do it. Listen, I have experience
so make it quick here.
In this area.
Now, hang on a second. What do you think of that knucklehead caller we had before?
I got kicked off of the chat box because I was trying to respond to the knucklehead caller. I got muted.
It's almost like they knew it.
I would have loved to have at least gotten my thoughts to that caller.
But you in the chat room, that was Clint's moment. He was on fire. He needs to have that every now and again. That has to be my little Twinkie to him every now and again. Is here you go, unload, and I stay out of the way.
Well, Clint did well.
Get in.
He started off slow, and because I thought we're just the word yes, as in I don't agree with universal health care, would have done. But Clint explained it.
Well, and because unlike me, he's a very well thought out and informed person who likes to make sure that his point is taken exactly how he means it, and there's nothing left to the imagination.
Yeah, but sometimes he goes so far, and he gets into these historical documents, and he's reading them word for word, causes a man to lose an erection.
Hey, easy now. We talked about this before. You and I are the quick responders, and we speak from the heart a little bit more. He's the brains of the operation, so I'm just the dummy that presses a button occasionally. On this last caller, Rooster, what are your thoughts on it? And then I got to go quick because we'll have a few minutes.
Yeah, and I've got to go too because I've got hockey in the morning. Listen,
lucky.
You know what that lady was talking about. You know, the people that filled out their loan applications incorrectly or illegally, or the real estate agents that were pushing people into houses that were much more expensive than what they can afford. That was a small amount of people. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that's not what caused this bubble to burst. The federal government created an atmosphere where these banks could package these loans into whatever type of security it was, and people like Fannie and Freddie were going to underwrite all these loans. Right, and they end up owning the loans, and they took a price of say $200,000 and artificially made that $200,000 $300,000.
Right.
So when someone like myself comes in to buy a house, I buy one for $300,000. The bubble bursts. I'm not in danger of losing my house. I can still make the payments. But what I can't do is get out of my house right now. Right, because my $300,000 house is now worth $200,000.
But I don't disagree with you. But what I'm saying, I kind of look at it like Jenga. All the parts kind of make the tower, and if you pull it wrong,
but everybody's got to be playing the same game. And when I took the risk, I wasn't taking the risk on something that was artificially inflated. I thought that house was actually worth $300,000 when I bought it, based on the market. Well, the market had been played with. Well, now the government comes out and says, okay, well, we're going to fix this. What we're going to do is we're going to bail out all these banks who took on all these loans. Right. And, the banks are going to pay us back, but the fact remains the banks would not have survived had the government not come in and bailed them out. They would have disappeared, and they would have became, 10 banks would have became 3.
Yeah, well,
but they did nothing for the people that have now lost $100,000 equity in a house, that can't sell it, that can't take a better job because they're now stuck in a house and they can't move.
Yeah, they can't move elsewhere to get a good job, I agree.
No,
hey, Russo,
they can't do any of that.
And once again, and this seems to be a common theme on our show, who is the problem?
Who was the problem? The government was the problem.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. No, I understand.
No, and I agree with Clint. Don't get me wrong. Nobody should have been bailed out.
Right.
Right? And,
I agree too.
It doesn't become a problem for me. I haven't lost any money yet because I'm still in the house.
Right. You're not going anywhere.
I'm still making payments, and I'm not leaving my house. But there's other people out there that have problems right now because they can't sell their house.
Well, no, and I agree with you, and I know somebody specifically who would love to take another job elsewhere, but they're so upside down in their house that they're just getting hammered.
No, they can't. So, and what is his options? Well, he can just give the house back.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of these foreclosures are.
Yeah, there's that, and a lot
They're
of
not people going under. They're just saying, here, it's not worth it to me anymore. Take the house.
No, I agree. There's many different levels. It's like an onion. There are many different layers to this.
Or a parfait.
And we're going to wrap up the show, but I do have to agree with you.
And what do you think about that, Clint?
About which part again?
He's asleep.
Give me the definition of that. I want to hear from you what your definition of that is.
Of the housing market?
No, you're wrong.
crisis?
I want to hear what your definition is.
What my definition of is? Yeah. Hang up on this guy.
Hey, Rooster.
Hey, guys,
thanks for
guys
calling
have
in,
a great
Rooster.
weekend. Every week you're getting better and better. I love listening to the show when I can. And I'll try to tune in next week.
You.
Hey, thanks a lot, Rooster.
It's so late.
Well,
for
you know
me.
what? In September, we may try a different earlier time slot, so we'll keep you posted on that. Hey, Rooster, just remember we love you, and that's all that counts.
Well, you're the only ones anymore. My wife does sometimes.
Thanks for calling.
Hey,
buddy.
thanks, Rooster. Take care, buddy.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
You too.
Wow, we really stretched it out again. We've gone from so many topics.
Hey, what are we talking about now?
I don't even know how to promote the show during the week because this always happens when we just jump all over the place. It was a good show. Thank you for our history lesson.
You're
Professor
welcome.
Clint. I forgot to play the...
And then even after I went through all that history, we had an ignoramus call in. He said, well, did you not listen to the first part? Oh, no, I didn't listen.
Well, then don't call in and comment.
Well, then don't call in and comment.
You know what it is he was probably clicking through. He heard one thing that made him bad, and he wanted to comment, and then he started to get into it and got caught and just couldn't go anywhere. And that's when the no. He just kept saying no until he could think of some sort of rebuttal. So that was fun. I like callers like that. That really gets you going, and I enjoy that.
It's irritating. Don't talk out your anus.
Nope.
Okay?
Nope. Call in all the time and speak without any sort of thought process.
If you want to have any kind of intelligent discussion, let's have an intelligent discussion.
Say it all the time. Do your research, do your homework, have some sort of facts, because that's what we try to bring to you guys, and we can go from there. But it was a good show. Thank you, everybody who participated.
Except for you knucklehead caller.
Everybody. I'm thanking everybody.
I'm not thanking him. You know what? I'll thank him if he listens to the first part of the show, does some research, and gets the facts, and calls us back next week and has a discussion about it.
If you're listening, please call us back. Be sure to check us out at sackheadsradio.com. Check out Rooster at conservativeoutcry.net, which is also the home of the Sackhead forums. We're on Twitter at Sackheads. We're somewhere on Facebook. You know we're here every single Friday night on the Sackheads Radio
I'm taking my headphones off.
Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next
done.
week.
I'm so done.
Is it ridiculous?
Really? You're going to call in? Absolutely ridiculous.
If you're still listening, he is still going on about this.
Seriously,
The show has ended.
You're going to go...